close your eyes. Take a slow breath in and let it go. Welcome. If you are here tonight, you're exactly where you need to be. Whether you found this video by accident or by intention, whether you are lying in bed unable to sleep, or simply looking for a few quiet hours of peace before the world asks things of you again, welcome. You are in the right place. Tonight we are going to do something a little different. We are going to sit together in the dark and the quiet and explore one of the most profound and most misunderstood philosophies in all of human history. A philosophy that has been quoted and debated and argued over and twisted and reclaimed for 2,000 years. A philosophy so simple that a child can feel it, and so deep that the greatest minds in history have spent their lives trying to fully understand it. Tonight, we are going to explore the philosophy of Jesus of Nazareth. Not the theology, not the doctrine, not the centuries of institution and argument that grew up around his name, just the man, just his words. Just the extraordinary, radical, quietly revolutionary things he said about how to live, how to love, how to see the world, and how to find the peace that he promised was available to every single one of us. Before we begin, I want to ask you something. Drop it in the comments when you wake up tomorrow morning. Where in the world are you watching this from? And what time is it where you are right now? I love knowing that these words are reaching people in Tokyo and Toronto and Cape Town and Sao Paulo, all lying in their own darkness, all breathing, all resting. We are more connected than we know. Let me know where you are. Now, let us begin. Take another breath. Let your body settle a little deeper into wherever you are resting. Feel the weight of your limbs. Feel how the darkness holds you, gently, without asking anything of you. Good. The man we are going to spend this evening with was born in a small, poor, politically occupied territory on the eastern edge of the Roman Empire, roughly 2,000 years ago. His people had been conquered. Their land was administered by foreign governors. Taxes were crushing. Violence was common. The gap between the wealthy and the desperately poor was enormous and growing wider every year. Into this world that sounds in some ways not entirely unlike our own, a carpenter's son from the small town of Nazareth began to walk the dusty roads of Galilee and say things that nobody had quite said before. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." He said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." He said, "Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you." He said, "Do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself." He said, "Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door shall be opened." These words have been heard so many times, by so many people, in so many contexts, that they have almost lost their power to surprise us. We hear them and nod, familiar, comfortable, not quite listening. But tonight, in the quiet, let us truly listen. Let us hear them as if for the first time. Let us sit with them the way you sit with a piece of music that you love, not analyzing it, not judging it, but simply allowing it to move through you. Because what Jesus was saying, when you strip away 2,000 years of familiarity, is genuinely astonishing. It turns the logic of the world completely upside down. It proposes a way of being human that most of us have barely begun to imagine, let alone practice. And it is, I believe, one of the most psychologically sophisticated and spiritually liberating teachings that has ever been given. Let your breathing slow now. In and out. In and out. The night is quiet. There is nowhere to be, just this. Jesus was Jewish. This seems obvious, but it matters enormously for understanding what he was doing and saying. He was not inventing a new religion from scratch. He was a teacher, a rabbi, working within a rich, ancient tradition that he loved deeply and wanted to renew and deepen. He knew the Torah. He knew the Psalms. He knew the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Amos, who had been saying for centuries that true religion was not about ritual observance, but about justice, compassion, and the care of the vulnerable. He was, in many ways, continuing their work. But he took it further. much further. The prophets had said, care for the poor, seek justice, love your neighbor. Jesus said, love your enemy. Forgive 70 times 7. Give to anyone who asks. Take no thought for tomorrow. The last shall be first. The greatest among you shall be your servant. He kept raising the stakes. Keep pushing through the comfortable, manageable form of goodness into something more radical, more demanding, more alive. And he was not merely issuing commandments. He was describing a way of seeing, a way of perceiving reality that, once you truly adopt it, transforms everything. Let me explain what I mean. There is a famous story in the Gospel of Luke. A lawyer comes to Jesus and asks him, "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus turns the question back on him. "What does the law say?" The lawyer answers correctly. Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus says, "You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live." But the lawyer, wanting to justify himself, asks a follow-up question. He asks, "And who is my neighbor?" And Jesus tells a story. A man is traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, a dangerous road known for bandits. He is attacked, beaten, stripped, and left for dead by the roadside. A priest comes along. He sees the man. He passes by on the other side. A Levite, a temple official, comes along. He too sees the man. He too passes by on the other side. Then a Samaritan comes. And here is where the story becomes radical, because the Samaritans were despised by the Jews of Jesus' time. They were the wrong kind of people, the outsiders, the ones you didn't associate with. The Samaritan sees the man and is moved with compassion. He stops. He tends to his wounds. He puts him on his own donkey, takes him to an inn, pays for his care, and promises to cover any additional expenses on his return. Then Jesus asks, "Which of these three was a neighbor to the man who was beaten?" The lawyer answers, "The one who showed mercy." Jesus says, "Go and do likewise." This story has been told 10,000 times, but sit with it for a moment in the quiet of tonight and notice what Jesus is doing. He is not answering the question that was asked. The lawyer asked, "Who is my neighbor?" Meaning, who qualifies for my compassion? Where is the boundary? Who is in and who is out? Jesus refuses to answer that question. Instead, he asks, "What does it mean to be a neighbor?" And the answer he gives is, a neighbor is not a category of person. A neighbor is an action. A neighbor is something you do. You neighbor someone by showing up, by being moved, by stopping when everything in you wants to pass by on the other side. The question is not, who deserves my care? The question is, am I willing to be the kind of person who cares? This shift from asking who qualifies to asking who I am willing to become is one of the most profound psychological and spiritual reorientations in all of human thought. Let that sit in you for a moment. Let your body relax. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Let the breath move through you like a quiet tide. Jesus was deeply concerned with the inner life, more concerned in many ways than with external behavior. He was deeply suspicious of what we might call performed goodness, the kind of religiosity that is really about being seen to be good rather than actually being good. He said, "When you give to the poor, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret." He said, "When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father in secret." He said, "When you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting." Secret, secret, secret. He kept returning to this, to the importance of the private, invisible, interior life, to the value of doing good when nobody is watching, to the danger of performing virtue for an audience. This is psychologically brilliant, because performed goodness is ultimately about the self, about how I appear, how I am perceived, what reputation I am building. It is goodness in service of ego. And Jesus understood that this kind of goodness, however impressive it looks from the outside, is hollow. It does not transform, it does not heal, it does not connect. True goodness, in his teaching, flows from a different place entirely. It flows from what he called the heart, the deep center of a person, the place where their values and desires and fundamental orientation toward the world actually live. He said, "Out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks." He said, "What goes into a person from outside cannot defile them, but what comes out of a person, that is what defiles them. For from within, from the human heart, come all the things that corrupt and destroy." He was not interested in cleaning up the outside while leaving the inside untouched. He was not interested in behavioral compliance that left the heart unchanged. He wanted transformation, real transformation, the kind that starts in the deepest, most private place in you and works its way outward. And this, I think, is why his teaching is still alive after 2,000 years, because it speaks to something that every human being recognizes: the gap between who we perform ourselves to be and who we actually are in the privacy of our own hearts. He was pointing at that gap, and he was offering a way to close it. Let your breathing deepen now, in and out. The thoughts are slowing, the body is growing heavier. The night is doing its patient, ancient work. One of the most radical things Jesus taught, perhaps the most radical of all, was about forgiveness. He did not teach forgiveness as a nice gesture or as something you do when someone apologizes and earns it. He taught forgiveness as an absolute, unconditional practice, a way of being, a fundamental orientation toward everyone who has ever wronged you. He said, "Forgive, and you will be forgiven." He said, "If you hold anything against anyone, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive you." He said, "If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also." He said, "Love your enemies, and pray for those who persecute you." Now, these teachings have been profoundly misunderstood. They have been used to tell people to stay in abusive situations, to accept injustice, to be passive in the face of violence. That is not what Jesus was saying. What he was saying is something more subtle and more powerful. He was saying, the resentment and hatred you carry toward those who have hurt you is destroying you. It is not hurting them. They may not even know you are carrying it. But it is eating you alive, keeping you bound to the past, preventing you from living freely in the present. Forgiveness, in his teaching, is not something you do for the person who hurt you. It is something you do for yourself. It is the act of putting down a weight that was never yours to carry in the first place. It is the release of a poison that has been slowly killing you. He understood, 2,000 years before modern psychology confirmed it, that holding on to grievance is a form of ongoing self-harm. That the mind that cannot forgive is a mind that is perpetually reliving the wound, re-experiencing the pain, keeping itself trapped in the moment of the original injury. And he offered the radical alternative. Let it go. Not because the person deserves it, not because what they did was acceptable, but because your own freedom, your own peace, your own ability to live fully in the present depends on it. This is not weakness. This is an act of profound personal power. It takes far more strength to forgive than to hold on to anger. Anyone can hold on to anger. It costs nothing. Forgiveness costs everything. Every instinct toward self-protection, every impulse toward justice, every desire to make the other person feel as bad as they made you feel. And yet it is, Jesus taught, the only path to the kind of freedom he was pointing at. Think for a moment about the things you are carrying tonight, the old wounds, the unresolved conflicts, the people who hurt you and never apologized, the mistakes you made that you cannot seem to forgive in yourself. What would it feel like to put them down? Not to pretend they didn't happen, not to say that what was done was acceptable, but simply to release the grip, to stop carrying it, to let the past be in the past, where it belongs, while you remain in the present, where life actually is. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Rest. That is what he was offering. Not escape from difficulty, not a life without struggle, but rest. The deep, soul-level rest that comes when you stop carrying what was never yours to carry, when you stop punishing yourself for being human, when you stop reliving what cannot be changed and start living in what is actually here. That rest is available to you tonight, right now, in this breath. Let your body feel it. Let the muscles that have been holding tension release, one by one. The jaw, the throat, the shoulders, the chest, the belly, the hands. Open your hands. Put it down, just for tonight. Put it all down. Jesus had a great deal to say about anxiety, about worry, about the exhausting, relentless human habit of spending today's energy on tomorrow's problems. He said, and this is one of the most psychologically precise things he ever said, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." Each day has enough trouble of its own. Each day has enough trouble of its own. How often do we live today's trouble and tomorrow's trouble and next week's trouble and next year's trouble all at once? How often do we sit in the present moment while our minds race ahead into imagined futures, solving problems that don't exist yet, dreading outcomes that may never happen, preparing for disasters that will never come? This is not wisdom. This is a form of mental torture that we inflict on ourselves, often without realizing we are doing it. Jesus was pointing at the present moment, at the extraordinary sufficiency of now, at the fact that, in most moments, if you are actually here, actually present, actually attending to what is in front of you, you have what you need. He made this point with extraordinary beauty when he talked about the birds and the flowers. He said, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they?" He said, "Consider how the wildflowers grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these." He was not saying, "Be irresponsible." He was not saying, "Don't plan, don't work, don't take care of yourself and your family." He was saying, "Notice, pay attention, look at the world around you and see how it is sustained, moment by moment, by something larger than your management of it. See how life is already here, already abundant, already offering more beauty and more provision than your worried mind can take in. The birds do not lie awake at night worrying about tomorrow's food. The wildflowers do not spend their bloom season anxious about the coming autumn. They are here, fully here, in the only moment that exists." And he was saying, you can be like that too, not naively, not irresponsibly, but with a fundamental trust in the moment, a willingness to be present to what is here rather than absent in worry about what might come. This is the teaching. This is the invitation. Let your mind come back to now, just now, not tomorrow, not next week, not the conversation you need to have, or the problem you need to solve, or the thing you are afraid of. Just this breath, just this moment, just the warmth of the dark and the quiet of the night, and the body lying still, and the awareness that is here, attending, without effort, without strain. Just this. This is enough. This is, in fact, everything. Let the body grow heavier now. Let the thoughts drift further apart, like stars on a clear night, each one distinct and distant and unhurried. Jesus taught extensively about what he called the kingdom of God, or the kingdom of heaven. This is perhaps the central concept in all of his teaching, and it is also the most misunderstood. Most people, when they hear the phrase kingdom of heaven, think of somewhere you go after you die. a place, a destination, a reward for good behavior. But that is not how Jesus used the phrase, or at least not primarily. He said, "The kingdom of God is within you, not in the sky, not in a future time, not somewhere else, within you, right now, in this moment, available to anyone willing to stop and see it." He described the kingdom of God with a series of short, strange, beautiful stories, parables, that were designed not to explain it, but to gesture toward it, to give the imagination something to work with when the rational mind runs out of road. He said, "The kingdom of God is like a tiny mustard seed that someone plants in their garden. It is the smallest of seeds, and yet it grows into a tree so large that the birds come and nest in its branches." He said it is like yeast that a woman mixes into a large amount of flour. A small amount of something alive, hidden in the ordinary, quietly transforming everything around it. He said it is like a treasure hidden in a field. A man finds it, and in his joy goes and sells everything he has and buys that field. He said it is like a merchant searching for fine pearls. When he finds one of great value, he sells everything he has and buys it. Notice the pattern in these parables. The kingdom of God is small, hidden, unexpected, not where you would look for it if you were looking for something grand and obvious and impressive. It is in the mustard seed, not the oak tree. It is in the yeast, not the bread. It is in the hidden treasure, not the marketplace. It is in the pearl of great price, found only by someone who was already searching. And it is worth everything. Everything. The man sells all he has. The merchant gives up his entire inventory. It is worth more than anything else. This is Jesus pointing at something real and experiential, at a quality of being, of presence, of love, of connection, of aliveness, that is available in any moment, that is hidden in the ordinary texture of daily life, that is so valuable that once you truly find it, nothing else compares. The mystics throughout history, Christian and Jewish and Muslim and Buddhist and Hindu, have been pointing at the same thing with different words. The present moment, fully inhabited. Consciousness, fully awake. Love, fully expressed. The extraordinary depth and richness of simply being alive, seen clearly. Jesus called it the kingdom of God, and he said it is within you. You carry it right now. You have always carried it. It was there in your childhood, in the moments when you were fully present to something simple, a game, a song, the feeling of grass under bare feet, before the mind learned to be somewhere else. It is here now, beneath the thoughts, beneath the worry, beneath the performance of who you think you need to be. It is in this breath, and this one, and this one. Feel for it now. Not with effort, just a gentle turning of attention inward, beneath the thoughts, beneath the feelings, into the quiet center that has been here all along. That is the kingdom. It was never somewhere else. Jesus was one of the great teachers of compassion in human history, but his understanding of compassion went deeper than sentiment. It went deeper than feeling sorry for people. It was rooted in a specific way of seeing, a way of looking at other human beings that perceived in each one something infinite and sacred and worthy of absolute respect. He said, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Whatever you did for the least, the poorest, the most overlooked, the most dismissed, the ones that the world has decided do not matter. He was saying, that person is me. That person carries the same divine spark, the same infinite worth, the same claim on your compassion, as the most exalted being you can imagine. This is radical, genuinely, practically radical. It is the philosophical foundation of human rights, the idea that every single person, regardless of status or wealth or nationality or religion or anything else, has infinite worth. It is also a deeply personal practice, because the invitation is not just to support abstract causes or give money to distant charities. The invitation is to see the person in front of you, the irritating colleague, the difficult family member, the stranger on the street who is struggling, and to recognize in them the same sacred worth that you carry in yourself. To see them, truly see them, not as an obstacle or a category or a problem to be managed, but as a person, a full, complex, struggling, beautiful, suffering, hoping person, just like you. When you truly see someone this way, even once, even for a moment, something shifts. The distance between you and them collapses. The defense goes down. The heart opens. And something moves between you that has no name, but that everyone recognizes when they feel it. Connection. Real connection. The antidote to the loneliness that afflicts so many people in our world of constant connectivity and chronic isolation. Jesus called it love. Not romantic love, not sentimental love, but agape, the Greek word his followers used. A love that is a choice, a practice, a way of seeing. A love that extends to strangers and enemies and the people who are hardest to love. A love that does not depend on being loved back. This kind of love, he said, is the fulfillment of everything. All the law and all the prophets, he said, hang on these two things. Love God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself. Everything else is commentary. Let your breathing deepen now. The thoughts are slowing. The body is warm and heavy. The night is holding you. There is something I want to say about the silence in Jesus' teaching, because he was not only a teacher of words, he was also a teacher of silence. The Gospels record him withdrawing frequently, to the wilderness, to the mountains, to lonely places, to pray, to be alone, to be quiet, to step back from the constant demands of the crowd and return to the stillness at the center of himself. He understood what every contemplative in every tradition has understood, that the deepest wisdom does not come from more information, more words, more activity. It comes from stillness, from the willingness to stop and be quiet, and let something deeper than the thinking mind have a chance to speak. He invited his followers to this same practice. He said, when you pray, go into your room and close the door. Be alone. Be quiet. The speaking and the hearing that matter most do not require words. This is the prayer of silence. The prayer that is not a list of requests, but a simple, patient, open presence. A turning of attention towards something larger than the self. A willingness to listen more than to speak. You are practicing this right now, in this darkness, in this quiet, in this letting go of the day's noise and effort. This is a form of prayer, if you want it to be, or simply a form of rest. Either way, it is the thing Jesus was pointing at when he said, be still and know. Be still and know. Not figure out, not analyze, not achieve, not earn. Just be still, and in the stillness, knowing comes. Not as information, but as presence. Not as a conclusion, but as a quality of awareness. A recognition of something that was always here, that the noise was covering. Be still now. Feel the stillness. It is already here. Jesus told a story that I think is the most psychologically profound story ever told. It is sometimes called the parable of the prodigal son, though it might more accurately be called the parable of the waiting father. A man has two sons. The younger one comes to him and asks for his share of the inheritance early. This is, in the context of the culture, an extraordinarily insulting request, essentially saying, I wish you were dead so I could have my money. But the father gives it to him. The younger son takes the money and goes to a distant country, where he squanders it in wild living. When the money runs out, there is a severe famine, and he finds himself so desperate that he is feeding pigs and longing to eat what they are eating. Then, and this is the turning point of the story, he comes to himself. He comes to himself. He remembers who he is and where he came from. He remembers that even his father's servants have enough to eat, and he decides to go home, not expecting to be received as a son. He has given up that right, just to ask to be taken on as a servant. He begins the journey home, and while he is still a great way off, his father sees him. His father sees him, which means the father has been looking.
has been watching the road, has been waiting every day for the figure of his son to appear on the horizon. The Father sees him and is filled with compassion. He runs to him. He throws his arms around him and kisses him. And before the Son can even finish his prepared speech of apology, the Father is calling for a celebration. The best robe, a ring for his finger, a feast. Because, the Father says, this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. The story is not really about the Son. It is about the Father. It is about a love that does not require perfection, that does not require the person to earn their way back, that is waiting every day, watching the road, ready to run at the first sign of return. Jesus was describing in this story the nature of what he called God. Not a judge keeping score, not a distant authority figure waiting to punish, but a father, a parent whose love is unconditional, who wants you back not because you have proven yourself worthy, but simply because you are his and he loves you. And he was describing, I think, something in the nature of existence itself, a quality of welcome that is always here, always waiting, that never withdrew even when you walked away from it, that needs only your turning, your coming to yourself to be fully present again. You don't have to earn your way back to peace. You don't have to prove yourself worthy of rest. You just have to turn, to come to yourself, to remember where home is. And home is here, in this breath, in this moment, in the awareness that has been patiently watching the road, waiting for you to arrive. You are already home. The Father is already running toward you. Let that land.
Let it move into the places where you have been hard on yourself, where you have been convinced that you are too broken, too far gone, too much of a disappointment to deserve the peace you are longing for. You deserve it. You have always deserved it. It was always already yours. Come home. The thoughts are very quiet now. The body is heavy and warm. The night is deep, and the silence is kind. There is one more teaching I want to offer you tonight, before we let the silence take over completely. Near the end of his life, in what the Gospels call the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus offered what many consider to be the summary of everything he taught. He called it the Beatitudes, from the Latin word for blessed or happy. Blessed are the poor in spirit, those who know their own emptiness, their own need, their own insufficiency. They are not cursed by their poverty of spirit. They are blessed by it, because they are open to receiving what those who are sure of their own fullness cannot receive. Blessed are those who mourn, those who are willing to feel their grief, who do not numb themselves against pain, who allow themselves to be broken open by loss. They shall be comforted. The willingness to feel is the beginning of healing. Blessed are the meek, not the weak, not the defeated, but the gentle, those who have power and choose not to use it to dominate or control, those who hold their strength lightly and place it in service of others. They shall inherit the earth, not by taking it, but by belonging to it, in a way that the grasping never can. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for justice, for things to be right, for the world to reflect something of its own best possibility. They shall be filled. The longing itself is the beginning of the fulfillment. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy, the law of return. What you give, you open yourself to receive. What you withhold, you close yourself off from. Mercy given becomes mercy received. Blessed are the pure in heart, those whose interior life matches their exterior life, those who are the same in private as they are in public, those in whom there is no gap between performance and reality. They shall see God, not because they earned it, but because clarity of heart is itself a form of seeing. Blessed are the peacemakers, those who refuse to add to the conflict and confusion of the world, those who build bridges rather than walls, who seek understanding rather than victory. They shall be called children of God. And finally, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness, who do the right thing even when it costs them, who refuse to compromise their integrity even under pressure. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is the map. This is the compass. This is what Jesus was pointing at when he described the good life, the truly human life, the life that is not just functional and comfortable, but alive, fully, genuinely, deeply alive. And notice, not one of these blessings comes through striving or achieving or accumulating. They come through a kind of being, a quality of presence, an orientation of the heart, poor in spirit, mourning, meek, hungry, merciful, pure, peaceable. These are not accomplishments. They are ways of being open, ways of being available, ways of making room for something larger than the defended, effortful self to move through. And they are available to you right now, in this darkness, in this rest, in this quiet willingness to lie still and breathe and let the day go. You are already practicing the Beatitudes, right now, in this breath. Let your body release whatever is left, whatever tightness, whatever holding, whatever small defenses you have been maintaining without realizing it. You are safe here. You are held. The kingdom is within you, right now, patient and luminous, and waiting to be recognized. Breathe in, breathe out. Jesus said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Not as the world gives. The world gives peace conditionally, when things go your way, when the problems are solved, when the people in your life behave the way you need them to behave, when the future looks secure and the past is settled and everything is in order. That kind of peace is fragile. It can be taken from you by a single phone call, by a single unexpected turn of events, by a single sleepless night of worry. The peace Jesus was offering is different. It is a peace that does not depend on circumstances, that does not wait for things to be fixed before it arrives, that is available in the middle of difficulty, in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of grief and confusion and all the ordinary chaos of a human life. It is a peace that passes understanding. That phrase from his follower Paul, written years later, still rings true, because it does not make sense by the logic of the world. It should not be here, given everything, and yet here it is. Here it is, in the quiet of tonight, in the darkness that is soft and not frightening, in the breath that moves through you like something ancient and kind, in the awareness that is simply here, simply present, simply watching, without judgment, without demand, without condition. That awareness is the peace. That awareness is the kingdom. That awareness is what Jesus was pointing at from the beginning, with every story and every teaching and every act of healing and every meal shared with people the world had decided did not deserve a seat at the table. You deserve a seat at the table. You always have. Come home. The night is holding you. The silence is kind. There is nothing left to solve tonight, nothing left to prove, nothing left to earn or fix or manage or become. Just this, just the breath, just the peace that was always already here, waiting for the noise to quiet enough to be heard. Do not let your heart be troubled. Do not be afraid. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. Sleep now. Let the body do what it knows how to do. Let the mind release what it has been holding. Let the deep intelligence that has been running this body of yours since before you had a name do its quiet, miraculous work in the dark. You are held. You are loved. You are home. The stars are in their courses. The earth is turning. And somewhere, 2,000 years ago, on a hillside in Galilee, a man looked out at a crowd of weary, struggling, hopeful human beings and said, "Blessed are you. Blessed, Not when you have fixed yourself. Not when you have figured everything out. Not when you have earned it. Now, as you are, blessed. Sleep. Sleep deeply. Sleep well. And know, when you wake tomorrow and the world begins its asking again, that the peace you touched tonight was real, that the home you found was real, that the kingdom that is within you was real, and is real, and will always be real, available in any moment you choose to stop and be still and let yourself arrive. It is always here. You are always home. Sleep. The night is long and kind. The stars are patient. Blessed are you. Blessed are you. Blessed are you. Sleep. But before sleep takes you completely, let us linger a little longer in this quiet together. There is more that Jesus said that is worth carrying into the night, more that he offered to those who were willing to truly hear him. And in these last deep hours before sleep, the heart is more open than it is in the busy daylight, more receptive, more willing to let something in. So let us stay a little longer. Breathe. Jesus said something that has puzzled people for 2,000 years, and that becomes clearer, I think, in the quiet of the night than it ever does in the noise of the day. He said, "Unless you become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." What does it mean to become like a child? Not naive, not ignorant, not irresponsible. Jesus was not romanticizing childhood or suggesting that wisdom means returning to a state of not knowing. He was pointing at something specific that children have and that most adults have lost. Something that gets educated and socialized and worried out of us as we grow up and learn to be proper members of society. Watch a young child, genuinely absorbed in play. Watch how completely present they are. There is no past pulling at them, no future worrying them. There is only this moment, this game, this discovery, this delight. Their whole being is gathered into the now, with an intensity and a fullness that most adults have entirely forgotten. Watch a young child encounter something for the first time, a butterfly, a puddle, a piece of music, a funny face. Watch the openness of their response, the complete absence of the defensive irony and studied coolness that adults use to protect themselves from being moved, the willingness to be surprised, to be delighted, to be affected. Watch a young child's trust, the way they fall asleep in someone's arms without reservation, their whole body surrendering to rest because they have not yet learned to be afraid of letting go. This is what Jesus was pointing at, not childishness, but this quality of openness, presence, trust, and wonder, this willingness to receive, to be affected, to let the world in without the armor. Most of us have spent years building that armor, and for good reason. The world is sometimes harsh, and the armor has protected us. But Jesus was suggesting that at some point, in some spaces, the armor can come off, that the most important things in life cannot be received through armor, that the kingdom, that quality of aliveness and connection and peace he kept pointing at, can only be entered by someone willing to be, at least for a moment, open, undefended, soft, receptive, like a child. You are practicing this right now, in the dark, in the quiet, in the letting go of the day. The armor is off. The performance is suspended. There is no one to be impressive for, no one to maintain the right appearance for, no reputation to protect. Just you, just the breath, just the darkness and the quiet, and the awareness that is here, open and unhurried. This is the child. This is the one who inherits the kingdom. Let your face go soft. Let the eyes rest easily behind their lids. Let the mouth relax. Let the chest open a little more with each exhale. Open, soft, present. There is a passage in the Gospel of John that is different in tone from the other three Gospels. Scholars believe it was written later, by a community that had been living with Jesus' teaching for decades and had been going deeper and deeper into its implications. In this gospel, Jesus uses a remarkable phrase repeatedly. He says, I am. I am the bread of life. I am the light of the world. I am the door. I am the good shepherd. I am the resurrection and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the true vine. I am. I am. I am. This phrase, in Greek, ego eimi, carries enormous weight. In the Hebrew scriptures, when Moses encountered the burning bush and asked God's name, the answer was, I am who I am, the great I am, the ground of being, the source of all existence. Jesus was using this same phrase, intentionally, provocatively, saying something about his own nature and also, I think, inviting his listeners into a recognition about their own. Because the I am, the pure consciousness, the awareness that is aware, the presence that is present, is what you are too. Beneath the thoughts and the feelings and the roles and the stories, beneath the name you were given and the person you have constructed and the life you have lived, there is something in you that simply is, that does not become or achieve or earn, that was here before your first memory and will be here after your last. The simple, silent, luminous fact of being aware. I am. You can feel it right now, not as a thought, not as a concept, but as the bare fact of being here, being present, being the awareness that is knowing this moment. That is what Jesus kept pointing at, in his own way, in his own language, for his own people. The ground of being, the source, the I am that is in all things and through all things, and closer to you than your own heartbeat. Different traditions call it different things. The Buddha called it Buddha nature. The Taoists called it the Tao. The mystics of every tradition have used their own words for it. But they are all pointing at the same ineffable reality. The presence that is present. The awareness that is aware. The I am that you are. Feel it now, not by straining, just by being still enough to notice what was already here. The knowing that knows. The being that is. Here. Always here. Jesus was also a healer. The Gospels are full of accounts of him healing people. The blind, the lame, the sick, the demon-possessed, as his culture described those afflicted with what we might now call mental illness. Whether you read these accounts literally or symbolically, or somewhere in between, they point to something important about his understanding of human beings and what they need. He healed people, the Gospels say, because he was moved with compassion. Not duty, not performance, not because it was part of his job description. Compassion. The Greek word is splagnizomai. It literally means to be moved in one's bowels, in the deepest gut, the way a mother is moved by the suffering of her child. It is visceral, physical, involuntary. It is not a decision. It is a response. The suffering of the other registers in the body before the mind has time to think about it. This is the quality of presence Jesus brought to people who were suffering. He saw them. He was moved by what he saw. And out of that being moved, healing flowed. This is a model for how we might be with one another, not with the cool, managed, appropriately calibrated compassion of someone trying to do the right thing, but with the full, open, genuine response of someone who allows the reality of another person's suffering to actually land, to actually matter. This is hard. It is much easier to stay behind glass, to see suffering at a safe distance, to feel appropriately sorry without being actually affected. The world offers us many ways to do this. The scroll, the swipe, the donation box, the thoughts and prayers that cost nothing and change nothing. Jesus was modeling something different, something that cost something, the willingness to be genuinely affected by the reality of another person's pain. And the extraordinary thing, the thing that the Gospels show again and again, is that when someone truly sees you, truly meets your suffering with full presence rather than managed sympathy, something shifts. The isolation cracks, the shame loosens, the wound begins somehow to heal. You know this from your own experience. Think of a time when someone truly saw you, truly heard you, truly met you where you were, without trying to fix or minimize or explain away. Remember how that felt. The relief of it, the release of it, the way it changed something. That is what Jesus was offering everywhere he went. The gift of genuine presence, of being truly seen. And he was offering it to the people who were least used to being seen. The sick, the poor, the outcast. The women, who in his culture were largely invisible as full human beings. The children, who were considered of little account. The foreigners, the collaborators, the sinners. He kept choosing the people everyone else looked away from. He kept seeing the ones no one else would see. And in his seeing, they were restored. Not just physically healed, but restored to themselves, to community, to dignity, to the sense of being someone whose existence matters. This is a practice available to you tomorrow, in your ordinary life. The practice of truly seeing the people in front of you, of letting your eyes actually meet theirs, of asking how they are and actually waiting for the answer, of being present enough that the other person feels, even briefly, that they are seen. It is a small thing. It is an enormous thing. It is, Jesus seemed to believe, the most important thing. Let your body drift now. Let the images and words begin to dissolve into each other, soft and blurred, like watercolors in rain. The night is very deep. The thoughts are almost gone. Just the breath, just the warmth, just the presence that is here without effort. There is a moment in the Gospels that I find unbearably moving. It is the night before Jesus dies. He knows what is coming. He goes to a garden, the Garden of Gethsemane, and he prays. And what he prays is this: if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Let this not happen. Let there be another way. He was afraid. He was grieving. He did not want to die. He was, in this moment, entirely and vulnerably human, asking for the thing to not be true, hoping against hope that the suffering that was coming could somehow be avoided. And then, yet not my will, but yours. Not my will, but yours. This is the prayer of surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, not the resignation of someone who has given up, but the surrender of trust, the willingness to release control of the outcome, to release the frantic grip on how things must go, to say, with genuine acceptance, I don't know what is coming, and I cannot control it, and I am afraid, and I am releasing all of it into something larger than myself. This is one of the hardest things a human being can do, and it is also, in some paradoxical way, the most freeing, because the thing we grip so tightly, the insistence that things go our way, that we know what the future should hold, that our will must prevail, is itself the source of so much suffering. Not the circumstances, the grip. And when the grip releases, even for a moment, something enormous relaxes. Not because the difficulty goes away, but because we are no longer fighting reality. We are no longer spending all our energy in a battle we cannot win. Not my will, but yours. You can pray this prayer tonight about whatever it is you have been gripping, whatever outcome you have been insisting on, whatever future you have been trying to control with the force of your worry. Not my will, not my plan, not my version of how this should go, but yours. Thy will, the larger flow, the deeper current, the movement of things that is beyond my management, but not beyond my trust. Release the grip, just for tonight, just for these hours. Let the outcome be what it will be. Let the future arrive when it arrives. Let the answer come when it comes. And for now, sleep. Just sleep. The prayer of Gethsemane is also the prayer of every night, the surrender of consciousness, the releasing of control, the willingness to let go of the waking self and dissolve into something larger for a few hours. Every night we practice dying a little death, and every morning we are resurrected. We come back, the self reconstitutes. We pick up our lives and carry them into the new day. Jesus understood this. He lived it to its extreme, and he taught that the willingness to let go, truly let go, of control, of certainty, of the defended self, is not the end of things, but the beginning. Not loss, but gain. Not death, but life. You have to lose your life to find it, he said. The one who holds on to their life will lose it. The one who lets it go will keep it. This is a paradox that only makes sense from the inside. From the outside, it sounds like defeat. But from the inside, from the experience of truly letting go, of releasing the grip, of surrendering the tight little self to something larger, it feels like liberation, like coming home. Like breathing out after holding your breath for a very long time. Breathe out now. Let it all go. The grip, the plans, the worry, the performance, the defended, managed, carefully maintained version of you that the world sees. Just for tonight, let it rest. And let what remains, the simple, quiet, unkillable awareness that is your deepest nature, let that be what it is. Here, present, at peace. The kingdom is within you. You are held by something that does not let go. The love that Jesus described, unconditional, unearnable, already given, is not a metaphor. It is the deepest structural fact of reality, as he experienced it and as the mystics of every tradition have confirmed. You are loved, not because you earned it, not because you deserve it, not because you have been good enough, or spiritual enough, or disciplined enough. Because you exist, because you are here, because the fact of your being is itself the reason. Let that be true tonight. Don't argue with it. Don't qualify it or examine it or decide whether you believe it. Just let it be true for these few hours. Let yourself be held by it. Let it carry you through the night. You are loved. You are home. The stars are moving in their ancient, patient circles. The earth is breathing. Your heart is beating without your help. Something is holding all of this together, quietly, effortlessly, with a care that never sleeps and never stops and never fails. Rest in that. Sleep in that. Wake in that. Come back here whenever the world gets loud and the armor gets heavy and you forget what is true. Come back to the breath. Come back to the stillness. Come back to the kingdom that is within you, always within you, never going anywhere, patient as the dawn that is already coming toward you through the dark. Blessed are you. Blessed are you. Blessed are you. Sleep now. The night is yours. The peace is yours. It always was. Sleep.